I looked at him and he looked at me. And before I could say anything, he asked me a question that changed my life forever. And I came to find out that this individual across from me was a patient at the hospital, but he was a prisoner at the
Mm.
local prison. He was lifting weights at the time, had an aneurysm in his brain, paralyzed the right side of his body, and he couldn't speak. And so the question that he asked me was in his slurred speech, but it was a question that changed my life. In fact, the question that came from this prisoner set me free from my prison. And the question that he asked me was,
Hey, and welcome back to Entrepreneurs Creating OMG Moments. I am your host, Tami Jaffe. We are so excited about our guest today. He is going to bring you some incredible nuggets, talk about some OMG moments he's had in his life and what he has done to get there. So I am so excited to introduce Jeff to you, but his mother named him Jeffrey, but his friends call him Griff. So welcome, Griff. Griff played in the 2004 Paralympic Games in the Athens, Greece. I mean, amazing, right? He is a silver medalist in wheelchair basketball. He is a national champion in the wheelchair NBA and a four-time All-Star MVP. Griff has 2 Genius Book of World Records. Cannot wait to hear about these. And wrote 2 award-winning books titled I'm Possible, Desire, Dream, Do. He also created a wonderful peer-to-peer leadership program that was recognized by the United Nations. And with more than 20 years of research and real life results, Griff has proven and predictable process that eliminates your excuses and helps you unlock the door to promotion, raises, $1 million ideas, solving past problems, finding simple solutions, discovering new relationships, rekindling old ones, mending marriages, losing weight, getting unstuck, opening the doors to new opportunities, and finding fresh and endless possibilities. I am so excited because we've got so much we're going to be talking about, Griff. Welcome. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got started in this.
absolutely. So, I speak all over the world, Tami, and I just address the elephant on the stage when I come rolling out there with my wheelchair, about how good looking I am.
Yes,
No,
absolutely.
I'm just, I'm just kidding. But no, I am in a wheelchair. You can't see that here, but nearly 30 years ago, in between football seasons, I was recruited by Lavelle Edwards to go play football at BYU. And in between seasons, I broke my back, and I found myself next to an unpainted barn. I'd just fallen 40 feet in the fields of Napoleon Dynamite country there in Preston, Idaho. My dreams of playing football had come crashing down. My dreams of riding a motorcycle came, crashing down. And here I found myself on my back, this very physically fit, strong young man who can no longer move his legs, can no longer do the things he used to do. So my identity and my label of, being this physical specimen was just stripped away from me. And I remember telling my friend for the first time out loud my fears. I just, voiced my fears for the first time, which was, Doug, I think I'm paralyzed. Go call the ambulance. And so he left me there in the field by myself to think about what next. What do I do now? What's the next step? What happens now? And so that's really where, it all began. Was I shouldn't say where it all began, but that was a turning point. That was a hinge point. That was a OMG moment. It was like, okay, now what? What happens here? Because, I'd be lying if I, didn't say that I went into a tailspin.
Mhm.
I entered what I call the sauna of self-pity. I was wallowing in that syrupy, sticky sauna of self-pity and was just having a pity party and feeling sorry for myself. And so I'm like, oh, nope, life sucks. Can't do. And I was focusing on everything that I couldn't do. And I couldn't dress myself. I couldn't roll myself over. The nurses had to come in every 2 hours to roll me over on my side and on my back and on my other side so I wouldn't get pressure sores. Everything that was just came to me with ease just was a struggle. And life as I knew it was over. And I just was focusing on what I couldn't do. focus on what I couldn't do. And then, they stopped feeding us in the hospital, at least in bed. If I wanted to eat, I had to go to the cafeteria. And I remember this one particular day, after I got my body brace on, and I, called for the nurse. The nurse came and helped me, and we got into my wheelchair. It took us a half an hour just to get into my wheelchair, and got in my wheelchair, and I'm rolling down the sterile halls of the hospital, just feeling sorry for myself, and just tears started to appear on my cheek. And you know how you have those bad moments, those bad days, and you're like, just leave me alone. I don't want to be touched. I don't want to be talked to. I just want to be left alone. And I've learned that that's the worst thing for any of us, is to be left alone in those moments. Everyone's like, Griff hit his rock bottom. Well, I'm here to tell you that rock bottom has a basement. There is a basement to rock bottom. And so if we're not careful, we could go subterranean. We could even go further than rock bottom. But I was rolling down the sterile halls of the hospital and going to the cafeteria. I finally got my food, and I went to the corner of the cafeteria because I want to be left alone. Just leave me alone. I don't want any help. I don't want any attention. I don't want any, just leave me alone. And I was in the corner of the cafeteria. I'm sitting there. I'm flavoring the food with my tears, feeling sorry for myself. And I didn't have an appetite, wasn't hungry at all. And all of a sudden, this tray plops in front of me. And I look up at this gentleman who was across from me. And I was about to tell the person to go take a hike with some language that I won't use right here. And I looked at him, and he looked at me. And before I could say anything, he asked me a question that changed my life forever. And I came to find out that this individual across from me was a patient at the hospital, but he was a prisoner at the local prison. He was lifting weights at the time, had an aneurysm in his brain, paralyzed the right side of his body, and he couldn't speak. And so the question that he asked me was in his slurred speech. But it was a question that changed my life. In fact, the question that came from this prisoner set me free from my prison. And the question that he asked me was, "Why are you crying, dude?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Why are you crying, dude?" And I realized what he had just said. And the question that he asked me was, "Why are you crying, dude?" Boom. As soon as he said that to me, it just snapped me out of my pity party. It slapped me in my face. It caused me to flip the switch and reframe things, and all of a sudden I started to see things that I didn't see before. I looked down the table, and there was a man who was paralyzed from the neck down with a halo screw to his skull, and he couldn't even feed himself. He had zero movement, zero capabilities of doing any of that stuff. And the guy next to him was paralyzed from the neck down too, but he had some movement in his hands. And so they taped a fork to his finger and thumb, and he's trying to feed himself. And as the morsels get to his mouth, they fall off, and he just is able to only get a small bite each time. And he's struggling to feed himself, but he's trying to feed himself. And here I am, I'm able to move my arms, I'm able to hug people, I'm able to feel from my waist up, I'm able to do things that these people can't do. And it just snapped me out of my pity party. And I started to, from that day forward, I exited the sauna of self-pity, and I started to focus on things that I can do instead of what I can't do. And that, I would say, is probably what really got me where I am right now. Because now I get to go and speak all over the world and share these gold nuggets on stage that helps people live a life that takes their breath away. Because I've learned that most of us are barely breathing and calling it a life, when in reality, we want to live a life that takes our breath away.
Yes, I love that. I love the way you put that. I mean, it's true. Everyone wants to live that life that you're like, this is my life. I cannot believe it, right? It's like that life that you look at and you're like, oh, this is more than I thought I could have. And thank you for sharing that story. And I know it brings back a lot for you, but it's going to help so many people in understanding, like, we all have things we go through. We all have different things, but there is always somebody else that has been through so much more. And sometimes we just got to ask ourselves, right, why are we crying? Why are we having this pity party? Why are we not moving forward to create that life that we want? That is awesome. So I mean, when you were this athlete, found yourself not able to take the scholarship and go to college and play the football. So what happened next? Where did you go from there?
Yeah, great question because, it's like, now what? My dreams of playing football in college were done. It was over. In fact, the doctors gave me a 0% chance of ever walking, ever standing again. The doctors told me I wouldn't have any children. They're like, it's the first function to go, last to come back. And so, my dream of being a father was shattered as well. And some of the experts told me that I had a 0% chance of getting married, not because of my wheelchair, but just because of who I am. And I'm joking with that a little bit, but I'm not. And but my wife and I, we're going to celebrate 27 years in July, and we have 4 beautiful biological kids. And now, I can get up, I can get out of my chair and I can walk across the stage. I call it walking with swagger. But it's really a matter of, I've learned over these years that I may be physically paralyzed. And I was given a life sentence to never walk, never stand, never move my legs again. But I've learned that most of us, if not all of us, are paralyzed from the demons of doubt, fear, and complacency.
Mhm.
And those demons are what are damning. And I can't hide the fact that I'm in a wheelchair. But a lot of us can hide our mental disabilities. We can hide that fear. We can hide that doubt. We can hide that complacency. We're good at hiding it, but is that how we want to live our lives?
Yeah.
And it's like, no. And here's the irony, Tami. I have an opportunity to go around and help people take those steps when I can't take steps myself,
Mm.
or I couldn't take steps myself.
Yeah.
But that's just the beauty of it, because so often one step that I want to share with you and your audience that we can take right now is to believe that it's possible, to believe that we have the ability to have the type of success we dream and desire, that we have the solutions to our problems, that we have the tools and skills to go chase down our dreams, that we are able to conduct and orchestrate the song that sings inside our soul. And so that first step that we need to do is to believe that we have the ability to achieve our dreams and desires, that we
Mhm.
come from infinite intelligence, that we can create a consistent, concentrated, and resilient routine to help us get there. But that first step of believing, that first step of seeing that we have that ability, because what's interesting is the biggest constraint that I've learned over these years of going out and helping corporations and colleges and individuals impact their world, make more money, and master their mindset is this idea of believing. Because
Mhm.
every minute we doubt it's possible, Tami, we give up 60 seconds in finding the solution.
Yes.
And so that's the first step that we need to take, that we do have the ability to achieve our dreams and desires, and that we do have a purpose that is the world needs us, and we have a song that the world needs to hear, and we have these gifts and these talents that the world needs. And so are we willing and ready to take those steps? And so there's some things that kind of keeps us from achieving that type of success that we desire, and we just walk people through that process and that journey.
Oh my goodness. It's so good. This is, I mean, biggest thing I see when I'm working with people too is that belief, right? The self-doubt. And we were talking about self-doubt a little earlier. Like there's that comes into play of like, can I do this? Is it going to be possible? How am I going to do it? All of those things that come up for people. And I love how you bring this back to, that's the very first thing you got to do is believe, right? If we don't believe it, it's never going to come to fruition. If we don't believe that what we have to offer is of value, it's not going to be, because you're not going to put it out there and you're not going to be able to work with people. And so getting through that belief, it's definitely one of the biggest things I see as well when working with people. And I started off, as a career and leadership coach, and as people are thinking about like making those transitions in their career, they're like, I don't know if I can switch careers. I don't know if I can do that and still make money. And now helping people with their businesses and getting started, it's the same thing. Like the fears are very similar no matter what transition people are going through. And so I love that you help and support people with that and help them get out there in a bigger way, because this is so incredible for people to understand and realize, yes, if you want that life, you have to first believe you can get it.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So you've accomplished so much. And I have to share with you guys, like, I met Griff about 6 months ago, 8 months ago in Miami. And I can tell you, like, he rolls into a room and he is just lit up. So he's like, you just have this like happiness and aura about you. And we started talking, and it was just like, "Ugh, I just love this man. Like you're so positive. You have such a great attitude. It was great to meet one of your girls there as well and see your family. And just like, I think there's that perception when people see people that, are in a wheelchair or have some sort of handicap, there's almost like this expectation that they come in and they're going to be more somber and they're not going to be as, and it was just like this enlightenment that you bring to the room when you walk in, because you're just like, you bring this light and the positivity that you bring. So what were some of the things that, helped you get to this point that this is the life and I believe this is where I'm going to be, and what got you here to this point of saying, yes, this is for me and this is what I want to help people with?
Yeah, 100%. Great question. I love that. And so a couple things. I've learned that I love to teach what success is. And what's interesting is everyone has a different definition of what success is. And when I go talk to educators, that's really fun because, success looks something different to all these teachers, especially from kindergarten age to middle school to high school and then to college. What does success look like? And I believe that success is a three-part series. There's a three-part series to success, and it's KFC. It's not the finger licking good that you get at KFC, the chicken, but it is finger licking good once you understand this concept. It's just an acronym, KFC, and that didn't come to me until my daughter walked into my office and she saw my desk. She's like, "Dad, why do you have KFC?" And I'm looking at her like, "Are you smoking?" Because I'm like, there is no chicken on my desk. And I look down and I'm like, oh my goodness, because I had just formulated this idea. And I didn't realize that it had the acronym of KFC, but the formula is this, and it's so simple. But like the Navy SEALs taught me when I went and trained with them in 2019, they're like, Griff, it's simple to be a Navy SEAL. It's just not easy. And so
Mhm.
this concept of success is very simple. And this is what KFC means. Know what you want, finish what you start, and celebrate the process. So know what you want, finish what you start, and celebrate the process. There's a lot of starters and not very many finishers. And there are, we don't celebrate. We don't celebrate the process. In fact, high achievers and high level leaders, we hit our target, we hit our desires, we accomplish our dreams, and it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
What's next? And we
Yeah.
don't take enough time to celebrate when we get to the end, but we don't even take time to celebrate to figure out what we want. Because
Mhm.
most of us know, most of us don't know what we want, but the majority of us know what we don't want. And I always illustrate this with, I don't know if you've ever been with some friends before and you're like, hey, let's go get some lunch. Absolutely. Let's go get some lunch. Is there anything that you don't want? No, whatever. What do you want for lunch? I'm like, okay, how about we get some Italian? I'm like, no, I don't want that. Have you experienced that before? You're like, wait a minute. I thought you said that you didn't care. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I just don't feel like Italian today. I'm like, okay, well, is there anything else that you don't feel like? No, whatever. I'm like, okay, awesome. What if we get some Mexican today? No, I don't want that either. And you're like, don't start that again. Have you noticed that where
Yeah.
people, we as human beings, we don't know what we want, but majority of us know what we don't want. And
Yes.
so
I
if
feel
we
like you
focus,
described like every night at our house or anytime we're going to go out to dinner. It's like nobody can agree. And it's mostly my kids who can't agree. Like one of them will want one thing, one will want another. And the next week they switch, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, but they
yeah.
know what they don't want.
They know what they don't want, but the problem is if we focus on, where our focus goes, our energy flows, and we get what we focus on. And so if we keep on
Mhm.
focusing on what we don't want, we're going to continue to get that. And so that's just one simple thing to, flip the switch and to reframe things, and is to know what you want. And so I'm getting to your question, and that is, how did I get to this place? And and really, it's just a simple formula of one way to know what you want is called dreamweaving. And there's a lot of experts out there that tell you that you got to know your why, that you got to know your vision, that you got to know your dream, but they don't teach you how to do it.
Yeah.
And, over these 17 years of working with the harshest critics called teenagers, we've discovered a formula that really works, that helps not just teenagers, but executives. I've learned that executives are worse than teenagers because they're adults. Adults are just teenagers who haven't figured it out yet. And but this dream weaving technique, this dream weaving tool allows somebody to really find out what they want. And it can happen as little as 10 minutes, but most times, the first time we work with people, we go subconscious. We pull this out of them, and it takes about 90 minutes to 2 hours to really, go deep and to pull it out subconsciously.
Mhm.
And now I've partnered with 18-year senior associate from Cambridge University, who's a neuroscientist, who has identified 54 genetic strands that can identify what we're predisposed on wanting. And
Mm.
so I go subconscious, he goes molecular, and we meet there at the point there. But what's interesting is, if people are like, I don't want to do DNA stuff, we're like, that's fine. We can go subconscious with this dream weaving, and it's amazing on what we can do for people and how we help them understand exactly what they want, like to really understand what their dream is. And then once you get to that point of knowing what you want, then it's like, oh, let's go.
Yeah.
Instead of being dragged to your destination,
Mhm.
you're being drawn. And it's
Yes.
like you're being called, you're being beckoned, and then you begin to like slow down. You begin to be able to weave that tapestry of dreams that's going to hang on somebody else's social media wall. And so
Love that.
that's what we get to do. And so that's, I don't do anything that I haven't done myself, and it's not repeatable. And so that's what I've done, is really have taken some time to know what I want. What is it that I want? Another technique that you can do to help you figure out what you want, and that people might think this is a little morbid, but it's to write out your obituary.
Mhm.
Write your obituary, because that's what you want people to remember you as and remember
Yeah.
you by. And people love to go to the obituary section and just read about what these people did. And so it's like, why wait until I'm dead? Why wait until I'm gone? Why not write my obituary right now and write it the way I want it to be written? And so I've gone through, 5 different hats or roles that I wear. One's a personal, one's my friends and family, one's a husband role, one's my business, and one's humanitarian. But the answer to your question, Tami, is one of the things that I want people to remember Jeff Griffin as is a man who lightened their loads, lifted their spirits, and loved them.
I love that.
That's what I want people to remember me as. And so my friends and family will remember me as a man who lightened their loads, lifted their spirits, and loved them. And so when I come in rolling into a room or come rolling out on a stage, it's very, very simple for me. How
Mhm.
can I lighten your load? How can I lift your spirit? And how can I love you?
Love that. That's so good. And I think each of you, like thinking about what is it that you want to leave, right? And the obituary thing can be draining in a way, because you're thinking about, okay, what's it going to be at that point? But it is so enlightening to think, what do I want people to look back and say about me? And where do I want them to go? And I'll share a couple of things that came out when I did mine as well. So, and as I was talking to other people and getting feedback from people about what would you say about me? And so, what my heart desire is, I'm a generous wisdom giver. So, I like to give wisdom and be generous with it and get people inspired to do things that they want to do, but they still haven't completely decided that they're going to go do, right? Inspire people to get that inside of them to say, yes, this is my chance. This is my time. Let me go do this. And so I love that you share that. Share with us in the comments as well. We'd love to hear what yours are. What do you want to leave for people? Because this is, you know, when we are clear on that, right? And I love how you talked about, the getting your vision and what do you want to do and do it going through this process of really understanding it so that we can weave it all together and make it happen. When you're clear on that, right? It's easier to follow the path. It's like when we're spinning, it's like, where are you going to go? I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go that way. And you like just are all over the place. And people are like, okay, what are you doing now? And why has that changed again? So I love when we can get clear on just those basic, like, and I call it basic, but like that concept of like, what do I want to lead? Where do I, how do I want people to talk about me and share that with the world? That is awesome. And you've done some incredible things in your life. And so I want to hear about a couple of your OMG moments. So we talked about you were in the Olympics. So tell us a little bit about what it was like to be in the Olympics, the process of getting there, and the feeling when you roll out onto the court. And what did that mean to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, behind me is my jersey,
Yeah.
and next to my jersey is the visit that all the Olympic and Paralympic athletes had at the White House there in 2004. And it was just a great honor. You know, there's 2,000 wheelchair basketball players in the United States, ranging from peewees to juniors to there's even a collegiate league. People don't even know that there's a, you know, an NBA wheelchair league as well. But there's 2,000 wheelchair basketball players, and 24 get invited to try out. But I got hurt nearly 10 years prior to 2004. And when I found out that there was wheelchair sports, because I love sports, right? You know, that was my dream, was to play football. And I just dreamt about playing on the big stage. And I got to taste the sweetness of success, and was able to experience what it would be like to be on the big stage there in the stadium. And so when my dreams were just shattered, I'm like, oh no, what do I do? So you dream new dreams. You dream new dreams. You pick up the pieces, you
Mhm.
dust yourself off, you work on your desire, and you dream new dreams. There's 3 Ds, I believe they're at the foundation of every solution. Dream is one of them, and then desire is another one. And then of course, do is the third one. And so I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? I found out that there's wheelchair basketball. I'm like, I'm doing this. I'm going to go to the you know, when I found out, I think it was in 1998. And I'm like, I'm going to go to the 2000 Olympics, Paralympics in Australia. And I remember telling my buddy, listen, who had been to 3 of the Olympics, Australia would be his 4th. And I'm like, I want to be on the Olympic team. He's like, Griff, you can't do it. How many times have you been told that you can't accomplish your
Oh,
dreams? You know,
yes.
and what's interesting is what I've learned is most of us base other people's possibilities on our limitations. Or
Mm,
if we flip it, other people base our possibilities on their limitations. And so I would advise people to be careful on who they go to tell that people about their dreams, because there's dream killers out there.
mm,
There are dream killers, and there's other people who actually know what they're talking about, and they're just going to give you all the reasons to go after it and to go do it. But you know, I've heard that my whole life. When I told people I wanted to play football in college, like, no, you can't do that. And when I told the doctor that I wanted to walk again, he's like, nah, you can't do that. It's impossible. Hey, I always thought Muhammad Ali was just this cocky, arrogant son of a gun, but he really is the champ, and he had a mindset of a champ. And I love the quote from him where he says, impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live the life they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. That's why it's so important to hear that song that sings inside your soul. That's why it's so important to know what you want. And so for me, I'm like, that's fine. I've heard this before. You can't do it, Griff. But I'm like, tell me that I can't, and I'll show you that I can. And I was one of the 24 people invited to try out, made the team, went to Athens in 2004, where the Olympic Games originated, and went up to the Parthenon. They made it possible for people in wheelchairs to make it to the top of Parthenon. I went there and took a look at that, and was able to see Athens in all her glory. And then we were able to roll into the opening ceremonies, and the stadium was completely full, 100,000 people, fans and family members there, and being able to, the Parade of Nations is what they call it. And it was just great to be able to roll in there, represent our country, go participate in the Paralympic Games, and just have a experience of a lifetime. It was amazing to experience that. And so again, if there's anybody who is thinking you made it because it's you, and I'm telling you right now, I'm nobody special. I really, in fact, I think of myself as an under ordinary guy who does the ordinary just a little extra. And that's really, you know, the formula for success right there. And you know, and so that was an amazing experience for me.
awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I could feel it. Like as you're talking about it, you can feel the energy coming off of the event. And as you're rolling into the stadium with the 100,000 people in the stands, I mean, and to think, you know, you gave up a potential professional football career, but you got there in a different way. And I think sometimes life gives us those turns and we think that it's stopped us from progressing in one way, but sometimes it's just a door opening for another. And we have to be willing to go through that door, right? And I love that you shared how people had been there. We're like, nope, you're not going to be able to do it. It's impossible for you in so many areas of your life, not just in getting to the Olympics, but in so many areas of your life. And each one you have taken and just said, you know what? I'm going to keep working towards it anyways.
Love the fact that you pointed out that, my desire was to play on the big stage. In my
Mhm.
mind, the big stage was college football. Minimum was to play in that stadium. And when that was taken away from me and went into that tailspin and my identity was just stripped from me, I'm like, okay, I could have just sulked and stayed in that sticky, syrupy son of self-pity and agreed with the experts saying, you're never going to be able to walk. You're never going to be able to dream again. You're never going to be able to inspire people. You're never going to be able to be on the big stage. But in 2004, I got to experience the world stage, and that was amazing. And here's the beauty of it: people who are listening and watching this, you are an Olympic athlete. You are that hero that we make these athletes out to be. You are the hero. You are the solution to impossible. You have the ability, and it's not about me. This hero's journey isn't about me. This hero's journey is about you. And so again, it isn't about the problems, because we all have problems. We all have problems, but we like to focus on the problems instead of the solutions.
Mhm.
And I believe that every problem under the sun has a solution, or it has none. If there be one, hurry and find it. If there be none, never mind it. And I believe that there are solutions, and I've given those 3 Ds, which are the foundation of every solution. So the problem isn't the problem, because Tami, you have problems, I have problems, your listeners have problems, everyone has problems. The problem is you. But the good news is the solution is you too. And
Mhm.
it's just a matter of, okay, I'm taking accountability. I'm taking responsibility for my life. I'm going to give my heart a reason to beat. I am going to see myself as that hero we are meant to live. And there are solutions, and there's a clear path that we can all take to get there, to live our own hero's journey and to inspire others around us and give light and wisdom along the way to others.
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. That is all so good. And guys, this is why I started this podcast. This is exactly why, to bring people like Griff to you, because thank you for being here. And thank you for being such an inspiration for others and for everything you shared. I mean, I could reiterate so much of what you just said, but you just said it so perfectly that I'm not going to go there. It is so enlightening. And I think so many times we just need to hear that, right? There's times when people are in that space and they're focused on what's going wrong and the problem, and they're not focused on the solution. And this is your opportunity. For those of you listening, this may be your wake-up call. This may be the moment that you're like, okay, I hear you, Griff. I hear you, Tami. Like, what is it for you that you need to stop focusing on the problem and see yourself as the solution? Where can you switch that right now? So, so good. Thank you, Griff. I want to hear, like, what's an OMG moment for you coming up in the next year? Like, what's the next thing for you? You've done so much. You've been in the Olympics, you trained with the Navy SEALs, you've gone up on stage and walked, you've done so much. What's next?
Tammy, that's a great question. I like to say that I'm the best speaker you never heard of yet. And one OMG that just recently happened, and I'm going to share with you what's next. But every year I fill out my blueprint, my desires, dreams, roles, and goals. It's my blueprint for the year. And so I write down my desires that I want to do. Like, for example, so last year, one of my desires was, I want to be the warm-up act that blows the main act off the stage. I don't know if you've ever experienced that before, where you've gone to a show, the main attraction, and the warm-up act just blows them out of the water. And it was like, Griff, why don't you want to just be the main act? And I'm like, because if I can be the warm-up act that blows the main act off the stage, I will be
Yeah.
the main act. And so, I wrote that down in January. March came, and I got a phone call from HF Sinclair, and they wanted me to come speak. And they're like, Griff, you're not the keynote. We're going to get Peyton Manning. And my first thought was like, oh, it sucks to be Peyton. And but then they called me back a month later, like, we couldn't get Peyton, so we got Drew Brees instead. I'm like, well, it sucks to be Drew. Because I'm like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to shine, and I'm going to give this give this experience. And sure enough, the owner of Stinker Stores, he has 1,000 gas station stores here in the Western United States. His name is Charlie. He came up to me at lunch and kind of pushed the person next to me out of the way so he could sit down. He's like, Griff, that was not a keynote speech. That was a performance. And I'm like, okay, absolutely. I love that. And so an OMG moment this year, in the future, I've always told people that I'm just a speaker. I need to get this message out there. I need to get this message out on stage to the hundreds and thousands of people that are out there, the millions of people that are out there that need to hear this. And so that was my focus. It's my calling. I really do believe it's my calling, my purpose to get that out there. And so I'm just like focusing on speaking. And so I've had people come up to me, ask me, like, do you coach? No, I just speak. And then I realized that I'm being selfish by just focusing on speaking, because if I can help other leaders who lead, I'm compounding my impact. And so for me, a little OMG moment for me is this year, I'm like, you know what? I will open it up. I will open it up, and I'm going to bring on 10 new coaching clients. And in my mind, I thought it was going to be like, individual people. I'm going to be coaching individuals to expand their mind, because you can't expand your wallet until you expand your mind. But I realized that it's been evolving. And so we have a few more spots available. But what we're doing here is we're really helping leaders lead by impacting their world, making more money, and mastering their mindset. And what we do is we go in and help the CEO, the owner of a company, double their earnings and master their mindset. And so it's not just an individual, but it's the individual and their executive team and their corporation and company, or whatever it may be. And so that is my OMG this year, is to bring on 10 new clients, 10 new companies, 10 new corporations, 10 new whatever it is, who wants their world to be impacted, to make more money, and to master their mindset. And so a little scary for me, because it's like, it's not so much as is it scary, but it's just new. And the future is unknown, and we can always base the future on one of two things: doubt or faith. And I get to practice what I preach. I'm excited. We've got a handful of people already, but we've got a whole new batch of individuals who are out there that are like, wait, Griff, I want to go on this journey. Let's take this year-long journey together, double our earnings, and master our mindset, expand our vision. Because Tami, you know as well as I do that different isn't always better, but better is always different. And if we want to make things better, we're going to have to think different. That's what I get to do, is help people think different and see things better. And I love that I get to share some time with you. I love to, hang on to your coattails. I love to like sit on your shoulders. It's easy to look good on the shoulders of giants. And so, Tami, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for, sharing that wisdom, and thank you for doing what you do. Keep doing it. The world needs you.
Well, thank you, Griff. And I am so excited about your coaching. And I've been coaching for a while. And like when you told me you were going to be starting this, I was like, yes, this is going to be amazing. And so I know there are so many of you listening who are like, oh yes, the Griff is brought you so much today. If you want to get some more, I know he has a gift for you guys listening today. So tell him what your gift is for them.
So the gift is the possibility principle. It's the P squared mindset. It's what helps you with your mindset. It's what helps you with your desire. It's what helps you develop that desperate, deliberate, and real desire, that you need to have. Because if our desires don't match up with our dreams, then there's going to be a conflict. And I don't know if you ever experienced that before, where the methods you've used to motivate yourself have fallen short of expectations. It's probably because of your methods, and it's probably because of your mindset, and it's probably more than likely because of your desires don't match up with your dreams. Yeah. And this possibility principle is the footings. It's the footings that the foundation sits on. And everyone who has built a house before knows that you have to have solid footings for a solid foundation to sit on. And so the 3Ds are the foundation. This possibility principle is the footings. And this possibility principle is going to help you match up your desires with your dreams. It's going to help you develop a desire that is as strong as your dream. And so it's also going to teach you what success is. And I know we've gone over that a little bit. And sometimes we learn what success is, or something is, by what it's not. And I always say that, what's the opposite of success? And everyone tells me it's failure. But Tami, you know as well as I do that no one that I know of has never, hasn't failed their way to success.
Yes.
And so failure is not the opposite of success. In fact, failure is part of success, and failure, failure way forward. And I believe the opposite of success is to not even try or to give up. And so when
Mhm.
you're trying something new, give yourself permission to fail, because failures at first are triumphs at last, as long as you just don't quit. And so that's just 2 of the 5 things that the possibility principle is going to do for you. And so you're going to put the link in there, but if you go to my website, griffinmotivation.com, Griffin, like the mythical beast, half lion, half eagle. My wife reminds me that I'm neither a beast nor mythical. But if you go to griffinmotivation.com/shop, or the link that you provide, and you click on the possibility principle, and if you put in the coupon code P2, you can get that for free. But what's interesting is it's only $10. I charge $10 for it, but it's really priceless. There's really a price that you can't put on this, but I'm going to give it to you for free. Companies pay me thousands of dollars to help them save millions, to make millions. I just want to gift it to you for being with us at this point. If you want to get my books while you're there, I will throw on an additional coupon code called LOVE, and you can get them half price. Just give you a little love, because that's my thing, right? Is to lighten your loads, lift your spirits, and love you. And so you put that in there. But I do want to end with this. There's 5 benefits that come with this possibility principle that can help you with. I shared the first 2. I do want to share the last one with you, which is it teaches you what hope is. The possibility principle teaches you what hope is. If you ever read the book Grit by Angela Duckworth, love that book. She talks about grit, and she talks about how the West Point Academy cadets who make it through the process have grit. And she says that gritty people are hopeful people. And I love her book, but I think Angela has this upside down. I think she has this backwards, because I believe hopeful people are gritty people. And hope, to me, means the ability to reach out to the future and grab onto your dreams and bring it back to the present, in spite of your past, in spite of your failures, in spite of your setbacks, in spite of your challenges, in spite of your problems. That's what hope is. The ability to reach out to the future and grab onto your dreams, to know what you truly want, to know what your essence is, to know what your purpose and your calling is, to give your heart a reason to beat, and to live life that takes your breath away, instead of just barely breathing and clawing on life. The possibility principle, the P-squared mindset, helps you live a life that takes your breath away and gives you hope, and it teaches you what belief is, and all these things that we talked about. It's so simple, but like the Navy SEAL said, it's not easy.
Yes. I mean, things that seem simple, right? It's simple to talk about, maybe. It's simple to, conceptualize, but implementation is a total different thing. So take the step, take the first step, keep moving. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. Go grab this free gift. We will put the link in the show notes, as well as the codes that you can get that, as well as the love code to get the books, and connect with Griff. You are looking for a keynote or the starter act for your keynote so he can blow the keynote away, definitely reach out to him. He is amazing, and he will put on a performance that you will be excited to have him there. Thank you so much for being with us, Griff. It was great having you here.
Tami, it was my pleasure. You are amazing, and you are so much more than you think. I know you're amazing. I know you think you're amazing, but I just wanted to end that with, you are so much more than you think. And thank you for this opportunity. I loved this experience with you. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Absolutely. Great having you here. And each and every one of you listening, you are all amazing. You are all meant to do big things and create those OMG moments. So get clear, as Griff talked about, what is that vision for you? And take those steps. Go grab his gift. It will help you get there. We will see you next time on the OMG Moment.